Welcome. I'm Kevin Miller. This is a podcast for your personal evolution. In this episode, find out when and why you respond as an adult versus react as a child. Most of us think of ourselves as adults, I think, but how often are we reacting and functioning with a lesser level of maturity and wisdom than we'd like, than what is productive? Well, my guest in the show is licensed therapist and holistic life coach, Michelle Chalfant. She's developed a psychological model called the adult chair. She actually trains other therapists in it. She hosts a very popular podcast called the Michelle Chalfant Show, Life from the Adult Chair. And she's just published a book titled The Adult Chair, Get Unstuck, Claim Your Power, and Transform Your Life. Well, Michelle has defined, as you're about to hear, 3 levels of our lives: childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, and helps us understand how even as adults who respond to many things as an adult, we often get stuck in reacting as an adolescent or as a child. She helps us understand why, and then maps out 5 steps we can take to reveal this and get more of ourselves responding from the adult chair. So we get candid in talking about emotions and validation and get a more clear understanding of how we can evolve. And if you get Michelle's new book, The Adult Chair, go to adultchair.com/book and you can get access to her masterclasses. And I really encourage you, wherever you're listening to this show, to check out her podcast. Again, the Michelle Chalfant Show, Life from the Adult Chair. Probably just type in the adult chair and you'll find it. And if you want help getting into your adult chair, getting guidance for your life, taking this knowledge, taking this information beyond just listening and actually implementing it individually. My gosh, we all need guidance. I need it. I need it personal and I need it individual. I'd be honored to help you find the right guide for you. Just email me at kmiller@kevinmiller.co. All right, coming up next, Michelle Chalfant, my conversation with her and help getting into more of us into our adult chairs. Let's evolve ourselves. All right. Michelle, I got your book across my desk and I knew the name. I think I'd seen your podcast somewhere and it sounded familiar, but then knowing I was going to focus on it. So before I even got the book, I thought the adult chair. My first thought was, oh man, I know I sit in a child chair for a lot of things in life. It's literally the first thought that went to mind. I thought about a friend of mine who, it's been a long time ago from now, but he said, Kevin, you're a smart guy. You're an intellectual guy. But it was regards to the context of something. He says, but in this regard, I think you're stuck at like 15 years old. Wow. And I never forgot that. I mean, I appreciated him and I appreciated that. But when I saw the adult chair, I thought, oh my goodness. So I am eager to dig in and, I want to learn to be in my adult chair more. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love how we started.
Well, like I said, I get to have people on where this is my way to get free counseling, basically.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
As I was reading your book and, you start off, I think I felt really giving gravity, and I appreciated it, to the impact of our upbringing and our programming. And I thought about that, how we don't realize how much we embrace it. This kind of hit me a couple years ago. And I thought, I think most of us, we leave home and we think, oh, I'm going, man. I'm going to be me now. I think, no, you're not. We're like 95% programmed, if not more so. You are so programmed. We need like a re-brainwashing school first. But reading your book, I just appreciated you giving so much gravity. I don't think we can give enough to how programmed we are. And that's really what stood out for me to begin with is, man, we're in such a programmed chair to begin with. Fair?
Oh my gosh, yes. And the thing that is crazy to me, Kevin, is that it happens typically definitely by the time we're 6, but average age of 3. It's like, what? What? I'm just so blown away. But by 6, the roadmap that we live off of for the rest of our lives is pretty much set. Now, again, we can alter that roadmap, but we have to be conscious of the fact that the roadmap is leading us into dead end after dead end or wrong road. And we're not aware of that until we kind of wake up and we start reading books like this and, all kinds of books and find teachers that point out like, hey, hold on, there's another way of doing life. So
gosh, you know what I had not thought about, Michelle, until you said that, and I did the timelines on the childhood chairs from, here to here, and then the adolescent, we'll get to that. But my youngest daughter came to us when she was just over 4 years old from a very bad situation, neglect and some abuse and whatnot. And to think about that, and now today she's 13, just turned 13. And I think things will happen and I'll remind myself that I did not have her from birth like my other kids. She had that significant programming and how that's going to impact her, the rest of her life. I think that's daunting for all of us, especially those who came from some place difficult. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But the great news is now that she's with your family and also picking up on what's in her environment from your family. But yeah, the core of who she is was 0 to 6. So you had her for those 2 years. And because of neuroplasticity in the brain, of course, we can change things, but it's pretty crazy. So make sure she reads this book and learns how to manage her triggers.
I feel like I take most of the stuff I get on these shows and I just go back to the dinner table and say, okay, guys, here's another piece out of your book. And I kind of paraphrase, but the power of our upbringing where belonging is our survival. You talk about that, our need to attach and our need to belong. And in that, how much we take on the beliefs of those who brought us up. Here's my question for you, because I've just kind of been pondering it around, but I'm not the psychiatrist, you are. And so when we look at those beliefs, my thought is that we often consciously or unconsciously adopt the beliefs of our surroundings, our environment, and our caregivers and siblings and whatever. We either unconsciously or consciously adopt them, or we often rebel against them. My question and concern is that even when we rebel and we think, okay, I'm not doing that crap that they did, and we rebel and go the other way, it's still a reaction that may not be healthy and well. It's just a polarization. How's that set?
Yeah, but it's still the roots are still in there. It's like the roots, the unconscious roots are still in there, but the ego wants to act out against what we learned. Right? So it wants to go in the opposite direction, but the roots, the unconscious roots are still in there saying, no, that's not who you are. You're going to actually do things like this. Even though we'll get mad. I was that kid.
Okay.
If you look at me now, you would never guess that, but I was the kid in high school or middle school I remember I came downstairs one day and I was very preppy back in the 80s. I had like the strawberry little turtleneck with the monograms, red sweater and all this. And then like a year later, I walked downstairs and I shaved the sides of my head and I put it a white mohawk and I was in a trench coat with black eyeliner and I dated a guy with black lipstick and eyeliner. It was very grungy, like a skateboarding guy. And then I was in way back when, like, I can't remember, like Jordache jeans, which were really hot when I was in high school. This is a long time ago. But anyway, I swung all around, like trying to find my identity. That's the ego in us that's trying to find, well, I'm not going to be like those people that raised me because they pissed me off. So, or there's some parts that piss me off. I'm going to be like this person. We're always trying to find ourselves, but it's the ego that's trying to figure out, who are we really? Am I this or this or this or this or this? Again, I was more extreme. That's not typical for everyone, but yeah. So when we're acting out, and I was the acting out kid, like I was drinking too much, smoking too much, all of those things in high school, trying to get away from the past. But guess what? You can't. It's like running around with an anchor or like those ball and chain things on your ankle. You're running, but it's still attached to you and it will find you because it's always with you. We want to pretend like it's not there, but at some point we have to do the work. And when we do the work, the ball and chain things, it comes off. The anchor's gone. Okay, so it is possible to update that programming. No doubt about it. I'm a completely different person now than I was way back when.
Well, and that's why you're here. That's where my focus is, and especially around identity. That is my primary area of research today and interest for myself and then within, this show and what I do here. So you talk about the adult chair model, and I really like how the phrase of it's how we show up, the way that we show up in the world, how people experience me. That's where I think back to my friend that I shared at the beginning, that he saw me as this, great guy and insightful and whatever. And then he saw an area of me and said, oh, but here you're showing up. I think you're about 15. And I knew he was right. And so I like that. For some reason that helps me, maybe because it's not a blanket thing. Like either I'm in the adult chair, I've arrived, I'm done. And to go, I think in a lot of ways, as I read this, that I'm in the adult chair a lot. Mm-hmm. Here's an area where it's probably an adolescent chair. And this one is a child's chair, I think. And that's what I want to become aware of. That's what going through. I got to tell you, I really like all your questions in the books. Just you have pages of questions on each chapter to help me think through. And that's what I felt like this is helping me audit and reveal which chair I'm really in. Because otherwise, without the questions, I feel incompetent a lot, even in my quote awareness and consciousness and like that. But I still look in the mirror and go, man, I'm not sure. What am I missing?
I'm so glad to hear you say that about the book. Thank you. Because that's how I wrote it. I wanted to take people on a transformational journey as they read the book. My hope with the book was that people would truly feel transformed at the end and really wake them up to a new reality of who they actually are, which it sounds like you had that experience. So I'm happy. That is what those questions are all about. Because it's one thing to read a concept, and you get it up here in your head. It's another thing to actually apply it. You have to apply it for the change to happen, for the transformation to then happen. So the way I wrote the book is I'll talk about a concept and then you apply it, right? You learn it, apply it, learn it, apply it. So yeah, I'm so glad.
Well, I'm grateful. I feel like we're in a culture right now where I'm even a little frustrated with, the podcast. I mean, here we are, we talk about this stuff. People are going to hear it. Man, that's great information. And then it ends, you go about your day and then you listen to the next podcast and there's no integration. Like I think I would do better. Maybe I'll just start doing this. You do the show for 45 minutes or 60 minutes, say, okay, folks, here's the questions. Let's go to class. Here's a question. Or come over here to whatever.com/whatever. And let's go through the questions to figure this out. So there is my shameless promotion of the book to go through. You're going to hear this stuff we're talking about today. And you take us through the questions where I have to sit there and think and go, oh, yeah, that's a childhood chair I'm coming from. And I'll list out, you talk about, we're talking about issues of low self-esteem that we're addressing, unhealthy relationships, lack of boundaries, anxiety, codependence. And I like that you said that this process, the adult chair process, shows us where we might have missed an important milestone or lesson. I appreciate that. I will, as I often do after the show, probably text my kids and say, okay, just realize some more stuff, guys, that here's an important milestone or lesson that you didn't get because I didn't know it. It wasn't malice. It wasn't whatever, but I was ignorant. I just can't know everything. I can't give you everything. Have done that in your childhood, but man, how many things did my kids miss? It wasn't negligence or whatever, but I only know what I know. I wish they had 15 parents in a village, but they don't have enough. That's what I felt like is the key here, is looking and going, what have I missed? Even if it was a great childhood, I had to have missed something.
I have had that question come in over the course of 20 years where people would ask me, how do I make sure that my kids are in their adult chair? Like, what do I need to do? Because from 0 to 6, I didn't know what I was doing. And now they're teenagers. And now is it too late? I have a kid that's in their 20s. Is that too late? No. The very best thing that we can do for our own children, regardless of how old they are, I don't care, is to show up in our adult chair, which is basically, it's the healthiest version of who we are. It's the healthiest version of self. So the adult, when we're in our adult, we live in the moment. We live with fact and truth, which means no story and assumption. I'm going to tell you what's fact and truth. We live in the now. We are able to set healthy boundaries. We're able to slow down. We are patient. We're able to wait. We're not impulsive and go. But it doesn't mean like I'm sitting in a meditative state all day and I'm like this. It's like, no, I'm human. I'm going to go about my day. And I'm just, if I overreact with my kids, I'm going to apologize. Mm-hmm. How wonderful is that? I'm going to own it, that's one of the 5 pillars in the second half of the book. I own my reality. I'm going to apologize to you. And that is modeling for our kids healthy behavior. That's what healthy adults do. You know, I realize so many people don't have healthy relationships. Again, it goes back to the roadmap. I've worked with so many people. I'm like, what is going on here? When I was writing the book, I was like, what is happening? I'm like, we didn't have good roadmaps. We didn't have like the healthiest of healthy parents to give us that roadmap so we can have the healthy relationships then as we're adults. So, but keep learning now. It doesn't matter how old you are. Just start now. You didn't miss the boat. Start now. Exactly like you're doing with your kids. Say to them, hey, I think I missed this. I did that with my kids all the time. I just learned this. Let me tell you guys, sit down. We're going to talk about this tonight. And then I'd hammer it home with them over and over. And then it becomes their way of life too.
Feels like one of the most redeeming things I do as a parent is talk to my older kids and go, gosh, guys, you were raised with this. I know from my standpoint, I can own it. So you were raised this way. And I just realized that wasn't right. That wasn't best. Okay. It wasn't healthy. And so sorry, first off.
Yeah.
And go read this book. And, there's your Christmas gift.
Exactly. Hey, I paid for my kids' therapy when they were they were in college. I go, please go find a coach or a therapist. We will pay for it. We want you to go. We encourage you to go. And they're like, really? Yeah. I'm like, go. We will pay for it. Yeah. That's actually healthy. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. It's healthy.
I do feel, so I've got kids in their mid, well, not even late 20s, and feel like that is more commonplace almost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a little bias coming from the arena that I do, but it seems like it is more acceptable, maybe even bragged on some. Like you expect.
Totally. It's so different. I think there's been a big shift in that because my kids enjoy going. Like now my kids are also in their 20s. I don't pay for them anymore to do that, but they pay for themselves and they pride themselves on it. It's not an embarrassing thing. Yeah. It's not an embarrassing thing to do that. I love that. Makes me happy to hear that.
I do too. I want to walk through some questions on the stages here. So you talk about, the childhood chair, and as you said a minute ago, 0 to 6. And as I read through, kind of extrapolated out some of my own pondering lately, is that primarily where we are going to come away from? 0 to 6 is our exposure, our programming, our experiences, where we are going to develop on the spectrum a level of from fear to trust. Are we fearful or are we trustful? A level of security, kind of an identity, an inner security and inner security that we're saying in that small amount of time, those, I don't want to say pillars, but we're pretty set on a spectrum of being towards one direction or another. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is where all of our attachment comes in or lack thereof. We learn in the child chair from 0 to 6, we learn all about our emotions. And there's a spectrum from love to fear. You learn, is it okay to have emotions? Did I get made fun of? Was anyone there with me when my goldfish died and I was crying and I didn't understand where the goldfish went, or my dog or my grandmother or my father, whomever? What did my parents do with that? Did they brush it under the carpet and pretend like nothing happened? Or did they sit with me? Did they console me? All of those things are going on the roadmap. Like that time period teaches us all about emotions, all about our true needs. And I mean emotional. I mean, I fell off my tricycle. Was my daddy there to pick me up and wipe my knees off and hug me and tell me it was going to be okay? Or was I told, stand up, you're fine. Stop crying. So then I learned not to have needs. Like all of these little moments for myself, it was interesting. So I was a colicky baby. I think that's in the book. Actually, I wrote about it for 9 months. I cried 22 hours a day. I cannot even imagine. When my kids would cry for 10 minutes, my nerves were fried. So my poor mother, she was on Valium. The pediatrician put her on Valium because she couldn't handle the crying. I was scream for 22 hours a day for 9 months. Anyway, I asked her, that was back in Dr. Spock days. So I said, did you leave me? And now knowing what I know, I remember even when I was writing this book, I was like, did you leave me in the crib? How long did I? She says, yeah, I was told to let you cry it out sometimes. So it's interesting to look at my attachment now. Like I went from anxious attachment when I was dating and even with my husband to avoidant. I would swing back and forth, back and forth. So it was definitely more of a disorganized attachment, but we learn all of this. My parents didn't mean to, they loved me. They didn't. What were they supposed to do? So again, I don't blame or judge parents. They really do the best that they can with what they know and what they have back in those days when we're kids. But so we learn about emotions. We learn about needs. We learn about spontaneity. We learn about intimacy. Think about a baby. You swaddle that baby and you're holding the baby. The toddler you're holding and hugging. That's intimacy. Were your parents comfortable with that? Were they not? Like my in-laws, it's funny because my husband is very touchy-feely, but his parents were not. So he craves it now because he didn't get it when he was growing up. But that's where we learn that intimacy, vulnerability is learned all from age 0 to 6. So we learn, gosh, a spectrum of everything. And it all gets laid on that roadmap based on the experience that we had in our home environments. Did you get bullied? Did you have a brother or sister that beat you up? Did they make fun of you? Did your parents stop it? I remember working with a guy, his brother would beat him up when he was a little kid and his parents would stand there and laugh. So he's got all these issues now around current men in his life now, but we traced it back to his brother beating him up and his mom and her dad never stopped it. So it's everything that shows up now, it goes back in time. That's where the roots are. And we got to go get those roots in order to shift the roots. And then it's like a domino effect. It changes our reality now.
I'm sitting here looking at the list.
Mm-hmm.
You actually, in that first section, you had your 6. You mentioned a bunch of them now: emotions, needs, vulnerabilities, intimacy, passion. And then 6 was creativity, play, and fun. And I look at those and my first gut reaction is, I think I did pretty good, but emotions, I did not do, I think, we expressed the positive emotions, but I didn't have a place for negative emotions. I was taught by my incredible parents, but I was taught that, the negative emotions, that's the stinking thinking. We need to get rid of that.
Yes.
And be positive and optimistic. And it's so much of that I value and cherish, but then there wasn't a place for the reality of the bad feelings. And so I just got rid of those, which is a guy that kind of fits in well anyways. You go become an athlete and do your thing. And then to realize that the kids, when they had negative emotions, I just ignorant. I think it was a void. I don't think that I was critical of them. I just don't have anything for you. Yeah. And that has a consequence. Right.
And now we've got to learn. And again, I realize this with parents. I've worked with a lot of parents over the years when I used to have a practice, but the parents need to learn. You can't set a boundary. Let me just jump ahead to one of the 5 pillars. I'd work with parents on setting boundaries with their kids. They couldn't set the boundaries because they couldn't handle the emotions that their kids would be having when they'd set the boundaries. They were so uncomfortable with those emotions. They would say, okay, fine, you can still go out. Or I remember the big one was, I worked with a lot of parents of boys for some reason. And I'd say, take the plug away to the video game.
Yeah.
Not the video game, take the plug away. Then they can't plug the damn thing in. Oh, but they'd get so upset with me. I had to give it back. I'm like, excuse me? Like, wait a minute. What? Well, it was too uncomfortable for me, people would say, or that was uncomfortable because they got so mad at me. I'm like, who cares? That's setting a boundary. So I had to teach people again, talk about emotions, how to sit in the uncomfortable emotions, because they had come to find out when they were children, they didn't do emotions, or they definitely did not do the uncomfortable emotions. They didn't know what to do with them.
I've struggled with that, Michelle.
Yeah.
I've done pretty well with the boundaries, but it was in spite of my discomfort. And I still have that. Okay. Looking at, you talk about, how do we heal that? And I found myself, as I was reading the book, this is something I've been doing lately, is looking at myself in I was going to say conflict, but it may be a negative emotion. And especially when a response is needed or requested, asking, how would safe and secure Kevin respond? What it has done is revealed to me how much of my life has not been coming from safe and secure Kevin. Mm-hmm. Blows me away so much. But something you brought up that I am not doing that I think I'm going to play with too is to get clear on how does insecure Kevin respond?
Right. You
said that in the book, and I haven't been doing that. I want to do both now. I want to come to that moment, that next, usually a relational thing for me, because I'm the people pleaser and whatnot, to come to it and go, okay, how's insecure Kevin playing out? What am I feeling as I feel it in my body and do all the stuff that I've learned, but ask both. And I haven't been doing the insecure one either. For some reason, it just struck a chord that I'm missing something by not doing that.
Yeah. The thing, if I may add something.
Please.
I just want to tell you, I really appreciate how aware you are about your stuff and how hard you're working on yourself. It's a breath of fresh air. I'm like, thanks. Boy, this is so nice. So ask when you're going through that and you're having that emotion. And for anyone that is listening to this, where you have to remind those inner parts of self, how old you are today. So, and oftentimes, let's say you're experiencing an uncomfortable emotion and it's in your stomach. So you put your hands on your stomach and you just talk to, as if it's that little kid. You don't even know, you don't have to do a deep dive and ask how old that little kid is, although you can if you want, but you just put your hands there and just say, boy, I've got this. And you speak so slowly, because when we start speaking fast, that's the ego kicking in from the adolescent chair. You just say, I've got this. Just saying this phrase. I did a whole course on this. I'm okay. It's just, I'm okay, but you say it slowly. Breathe. I'm okay. And the more you just, like a mantra, repeat that, your nervous system starts to settle, and you breathe and you realize whatever you're feeling starts to move through you. Because you've got to think about what emotions really are. Emotions are just an energy. That's it. They're an energy. You can't hold it. Can you hold like sadness in your hand? No. Can you hold anger? Can you hold fear? No. What is it? What is an emotion? It's an energy. Think about this, Kevin. I think about the human being. We have to remember we are spiritual beings in a human body. They've proven this. Quantum physics has proven this. We are spiritual beings first in this, what I call a garage for the soul. That's all we're in. And then when we die, it stays here and we keep going. Anyway, so think about the human body, like this energy field that is moving. The only reason we can actually see each other is because the energy is moving slow enough so I can see you. But around you, we know there's a human energy field. Call it an aura. But this field is always in motion. The energy never stops, never stops. Albert Einstein said this, energy is always in motion. So this energy field is moving always. We as humans are always moving. This energy like a slow moving stream. When you have a negative emotion, think about as if this is a stream, a log. Let's call it sadness or fear. It starts to come down through the stream, through this river. What do you do with it? If you don't feel it, it gets stuck and it stops. And then you got fear, you got sadness, you got anger, you got all these other emotions that get locked up like a beaver dam right in the middle of the river.
Yeah.
Then guess what? We have anxiety. People get depressed. When I worked with people one-on-one with anxiety and depression, I worked with them on feeling their emotions, and literally it was game changing for people. I don't consider anxiety to be, I just have anxiety like it's an emotion. That's not an emotion. Anxiety is the physical response to unfelt emotions. I worked with people for 20 years working on this stuff. And what I found was when someone would come in and say, I have anxiety, I'm like, well, how do you know? Well, my heart's racing and my stomach's tight. My chest is tight. My throat, I can't swallow. I can't sleep at night. I have so many thoughts on my shoulder. It was all this physical stuff.
Yep.
And when I would slow them down enough, get their nervous system to slow down, help them to relax so that guess what? That energy river, let's go back to the river analogy, could open up a little wider because guess what? When we're anxious, that river, we condense it way down. We get tight. When I can open up my energy field, that river guess what? These logs start to come loose. And then I had to teach people how to feel their emotions. When they started to be able to feel and process and metabolize emotions, just like food. When you eat a hamburger, you eat it, you swallow it, it metabolizes through, right? And it moves through you. Emotions do the exact same thing if you allow them through. And if you allow them through without story or assumption around why we're feeling that emotion, it moves down. What most humans do is the emotion comes in like fear or sadness, whatever that might be. Negative, I don't even like to call it. It's just an emotion. It's a negative, heavier emotion. Let's just say it's sadness. And we say to ourselves, why am I sad? Am I depressed? What's wrong? I wonder why I feel so sad today. What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like on and on and on. All that dialogue is a story that actually locks that sadness in place. If we could just breathe it through and go, wow, I feel so sad. And we let it move through us, 90 seconds, gone. And then we move on to something else.
Okay. I want to go right there. I actually jumped. It's page. Well, no, I got the galley copy. I was going to be really smart and say what pages. I got the galley copy, so I don't know. In my copy, it's page 153 that you have a quote in there that I love, I align with, and I think is massively controversial.
Okay, great. Let's hear it.
It's your quote from Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor.
I was going to say, it's not on page 153 in the main book. It's
okay.
It's right around here. It's around here. Oh, here it is. It's 155. There it
155. Is. 155. Okay.
Yep.
Here's the quote that you put in the book.
Yep.
Because back to emotions, that this concept of like anxiety you talked about.
Yeah.
That it is happening to me. Like it's out there and I've caught it like COVID.
Yes.
As opposed to the reality that I'm sitting here doing it to myself. Mm-hmm. I know you're nodding, but you have people in the chair. I mean, you go out and post that publicly. And I think that a lot of people take offense at that. I'm not doing this to myself.
Yes, they get pissed.
Okay, let me read the quote and let's come right back here. The quote that you have in there. When we react, that physiological reaction that I didn't choose in the moment, but I got triggered, whatever. So boom, you said, and you go on, there is a 90 second chemical process that happens. Mm-hmm. After that, any remaining emotional response is just the person choosing to stay in that emotional loop. And I hear a lot of people going, F you.
Yes.
This trauma happened. I have PTSD and you're telling me I'm doing it to myself. Mm-hmm. But I can't refute it. When it comes down to the same, here's the same stimulus, let's call it, happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like to use the analogy of a bear because we've had a bunch visit our house. And when they come, there are some people in my home or family, they're terrified. Yeah. And there's others like me, that's the numbnut going out with the camera going, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. Well, is it scary or is it inspiring? Well, I guess it's neither. It's just a bear. It's just being a bear. We're doing these things to ourselves. Now, that's not as acute as a big T trauma.
Right.
But it's still, once it's passed, at least, whether we're doing it to ourselves or not. So I wanted to take that captive because I feel like it's a holy grail understanding. But I also am really sensitive to people, especially those who have had big T trauma. I have not. I am a 6 foot tall white American male. I'm the most privileged person on planet Earth. I haven't had a big trauma. So I'm really cautious with this and appreciate it coming from people who have dealt with, the big T traumas. But I'm going to stop talking now. It's a huge one for me. So just unpack it more for us. Yeah.
So with the trauma, so the whole thing is coming from Jill Bolt Taylor. And I've tested this with myself. I was someone that lived with depression in my 20s and early 30s, chronic, really, really bad anxiety, probably almost to my 40s. So I have put her theory to test really with my own life. And then of course with clients. But what happened with her was she had a stroke and it froze the left side of her brain. And she only had access to the right side of her brain. So when she had the stroke, she fell on the floor and she looked at the phone and she goes, that's a phone. Didn't know how to dial the number because you need the left side of the brain for that. But what she experienced over the course of, I think it was 2 years, is that emotions just continue to flow through us. And without having the left side of that brain on, which was, by the way, our ego, or I call it living chin up or chin down, basically, but the ego, which is the adolescent chair, without having that part to build up the story around the emotion, the emotions just pass through. They just work through. So if you've had a big T trauma and you're thinking, so think about it like this: I'm chin up or am I chin down? I feel my emotions when I'm chin down in the body, but I'm thinking about the emotions when I'm chin up. So this is all in the head. So let's just say a trauma would be, let's just say a car accident. I'm just going to say that I had a horrific car accident. When I think about the expressway that I was on where I had the car accident, when I think about it, it's going to bring up emotion, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm not thinking about that expressway where I had the accident, that emotion is not going to be there. So if I'm thinking about that, or if I'm about to get on that expressway, the emotion rises up. Can I then think of a different thought that then helps the emotion to wash through me? Yes. I have done so much of my own personal work around this, like intense grief around various things in my life. Grief is a tricky one because grief can be very chronic. It's not one and done. Grief can raise its head years later after the thing. Now I honor it. I look at emotions in a very different way. So if my father died 20 years ago, my dog died 1 year ago today. And I was thinking about her when I was away last week. And, I was like, wow. And she was 16 years old. We were like this dog. Me and my dog were so close. And I was thinking about her and I felt like crying. And I was like, oh, there's something there. I was thinking about the dog. Tears came up. Let myself feel that. And then it was over. I didn't go into the story of, oh my God, my dog's not here. Things will never be the same. If my dog were only here, my life would be so much better. And that's what we do as humans, is we keep the dialogue going and going and going and going and going. And that then keeps the emotion going and going and going and going and going.
Okay. Can I ask there though? Okay. So you said you said this a couple of times. You said a minute ago, we build up the story around the emotion. And you said right there that you had the thought, you had the feeling.
Yep.
What's that?
I had the thought. It popped in. Our thoughts are going to breeze in, 70,000 to 90,000 thoughts a day. We're going to have thoughts that drift in and out.
So the thought comes in.
Yep.
Physiological response. You didn't consciously pick it, and you felt some tears or, some sadness or whatever.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't go into the story.
Yeah.
But did you not go into a different story though? Don't we have to make some kind of a story?
Why do we have to make a story? That's the problem, is the ego wants to put meaning around everything. We don't need to have meaning. What if it was just a sadness because I miss my dog, Maya?
Okay, hold on. No, I appreciate that. We don't have to do meaning, because that's, as I look at, let's call it objective realities, the car wreck or the dog died, it's objective reality.
Dog died. I mean, God knows when there's a death of someone or an animal, this dog was 16 years old. She was a little Yorkie Maltese by my feet, 24/7. She slept with me. I did podcasts. She was always right at my feet. Always, always, always. She was everything. I have another dog, but this dog and I were very, very close. And, so the thought came up. I was walking on the beach last week in Turks and Caicos. And I thought, oh, wow, it's coming up on Maya's 1-year anniversary. I thought about what the date was. I was just a random thought. And I thought, wow, it's been a year since Maya died. And then I felt a little bit of sadness in my heart. I was like, gosh, I really miss her. She would be right here at my feet running right now. I thought, oh, and I felt the sadness and I took a breath. I said, yeah, I really love that dog. And then I kept going. I didn't force it out of my mind. I looked out at the ocean and then I was back in the present moment. It's when we leave the present moment. If you had a trauma that was a year ago, it was a little trauma for me when my dog died, but anyway, if I focus on a year ago, then it's going to be stuck. It's the log that gets stuck in my river. It's stuck because Maya died. It's never going to be the same. I don't have my little protector with me. She was unconditional love. I mean, all of those are thoughts that are like logs in the river that get built up in the river. And then my energy can't move. It's not that I'm in denial, because I really loved that dog and I really miss that dog. No doubt about it. My father died. Same thing. No doubt about it. I still have thoughts when I think about, or when thoughts fly in about my dad. Sometimes I feel sadness. Sometimes I feel joy. Sometimes I reflect on this or that. It's like, I get sad. What I don't go into is I don't put meaning around the fact that he's gone. And I don't go into my kids never knew him. It's not fair. He could have taken them snow skiing in Vail every year. My dad used to go to Vail every year out in where you live. And all these things. I could go there. That keeps that emotion stuck. And it's not that I never had that thought, but I went, gosh, it's so sad. Every year when my kids ski, my dad would have loved that. That's true. And then I move on. I don't allow myself to get stuck in it.
Okay, I'm with you there. What I want you to unpack, because I just haven't heard it in this way. Mm-hmm. X happens, we create a story. We attach meaning to it. And what I'm finding more and more is there's the danger. The danger is usually not the damage isn't the thing. It's the meaning we make out of it. So the meaning we make out of it, especially if it's unconstructive, harmful, unhealthy, blah, blah, blah. So my focus has been, well, you get to be conscious and create a meaning that is constructive and productive and whatever. Mm-hmm. But you're just coming in also and saying, okay, maybe you don't have to create a meaning.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yep.
We can do that, huh? I just haven't conceived of it to not put a meaning. It's just a feeling. It just is. I don't have to write a story about it. That's different.
We are so powerful. We are truly creators, and we create by what we choose to let in and think about and focus on. We are so incredibly powerful. And what we want to do is catch ourselves when we're at the top of the mountain and there's a ton of snow before the avalanche, because the avalanche will begin the more negative thoughts we have in this area of the thing that's making us sad or overwhelmed or whatever it is. We get to that point where it's like, I'm in trouble. Then the avalanche happens and I am lost in it. And then it swallowed me up and I'm living with anxiety and depression. Yeah. We forget or don't know. It's not even that we forget. We don't know that we're able. This is what people in their adult chair would do. I have a choice. Do I want to keep thinking about this, or do I want to stop thinking about this? Do I want to let it go, or do I not want to let it go? Do I want to change my thought? All of what I'm suggesting here are choices. We have choices with our thinking. Most people live by their default mode, the network of their default mode thinking. It's like, this X happens, then Y, X, then Y, X, then Y. What if X, then C? That's taking control of the brain, not being controlling, but realizing, wait, I have a choice. I can allow myself to go down this horrible pathway of my dog dying in my arms last year. It was horrible. And I can keep going and going and going and going and talk about, I'll never find a dog like her. It's going to be horrible. Or my dad will never be here. Yada, 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 yada. Is all of that true? Yeah. Does it make me feel good or bad? Horrible. I'm not going to do that. I had to realize I lived with depression and anxiety for probably the first half of my life. So bad. I was functionally depressed. Mm-hmm. I had the hot guy. Then I got married. I had the kids. I could dress well. I had all that going on. Inside, I was dying. Mm-hmm. I was literally felt like I was damaged goods. My self-worth was low. I hated myself. I'm like, I've got to change. I've got to figure this out. That's what this book is all about. And something that I realized was I don't have to listen to my thoughts. Our thoughts either make us happy or sad and everything in between. And what I realized was we have a choice over what we are thinking. We have a choice. We get to choose. And most of us, and I was included in that, I thought, I can't stop my thinking. Yes, you can. You got to learn how to put a pause and then a longer pause and then choose again. What feels a little bit better than that thought? What feels a little bit better? This does. Okay, I'm going to plug that one in. Now, I remember working with a lady in my private practice many years ago. I think she's in the book. Her husband cheated on her, and they had older kids, and she was devastated. He had gone on, they got a divorce, and he ended up marrying this girl. And she came into me, I can't remember how many years ago it had been since they'd gotten divorced. She said, I can't believe he left, and on and on and on and on and on. And I empathized with her. I could feel her pain. And I looked at her and I said, hey, Joyce, when are you ready to put put that down and move on. No one in her world was keeping her stuck. She was. And I was the only one that really looked her in the eyes. And I said, listen, you are keeping yourself stuck here. Your husband's moved on. Your kids have moved on and out of that. Like, everyone's moved on. I said, I will sit here every week and listen to you talk about how upset you are. But at some point, when is it going to be done? When are you done? And I've had a lot of talks with people about that over the years. Like that.
Okay. Let's get into another quagmire of controversy. Validation.
Yeah.
Because people are going to hear that. And I continue to struggle with this. It feels like a cultural, not just the need, a demand of validating. You need to validate my perspective.
Yeah.
I'll say, I'll own it for myself. I want to be at a place where I don't need your validation, at least not for my survival. I don't need it. Do I like it? If you say, oh my gosh, this was the best podcast I've ever done. Feels great. You're welcome to do that.
Totally.
But do I need that? If I'm dependent upon it, I just don't see it. And so this need for validation, I continue to struggle with. Yeah. So put it in that context of because I read that story in your book of here she is. You didn't invalidate her.
No. It was horrible what her husband did. I agree. It was horrible. Everything about her story was horrible. I can't remember. I think he got his girlfriend pregnant. It was like horrible. But it had been, I can't remember how long, I don't remember how long it was, a few years or something. And I call it carrying around your cement suitcase. Because I did this with my clients. I actually had a suitcase and I would put it in my office with bricks in it. And I bring it to my live shows. I bring the cement suitcase with me. And I said, the amount that you are carrying around this story is like dragging around a cement suitcase. So it's your choice. You can carry it with you the rest of your life or you can put it down. It's up to you. You can leave it. So I'd have my clients leave my office. I would like, take that suitcase with you. And they go, well, that's heavy. That's what you're carrying around. That's what you're choosing to carry around. So validation, we have to learn how to validate ourselves first.
I appreciate you saying that, Michelle, because this concept of it almost feels like a right. Like I have a right for you to validate me. And I want to get to a point. I like the term witness, that I can sit and witness you and even empathize maybe to a degree, but to validate your story, especially if your story may not be sounding very helpful to you.
Yes.
And
the thing is that, and I remember talking to people on the receiving end of someone that just gets stuck in their story for years. Like, what do I say to my friend who can't get out of that? And like, they really need a third party to come in, kind of have that come into Jesus meeting with them. Like I would do with my clients. I'd be like, listen, and I could feel like, I'm like, it is horrible. I agree with you. This is devastating. And I could feel their pain and would agree with them. I agree. And when are you going to allow yourself, and hear my words on this, when are you going to allow yourself to put that down and start telling yourself a new story or have a different life? Like when are you ready to move on? Whatever words I would use. And they would look at me like, well, and I'd say, well, who is it serving by you holding on to this story? And in the book, I remember that client, when she decided, we are empowered human beings and we forget this. When we decide to say, yes, I'm going to put that down. I'm going to tell myself a new story. I'm going to create a new life. Her whole life changed. But as far as validation goes, here's the thing, Kevin, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Some people need to hear and feel really validated. I don't know if everybody does. It depends on what you need. Remember, we got to go back to 0 to 6 now. So the child chair is where we learn about those needs. So for myself, I know when I'm going through something or I'm having an emotion, when I have a log in my river that's trying to move through, I'll say to my husband, I take responsibility for my logs moving through my river, and I'll call my sister or whomever. I'll say, I have an emotion coming through. I need to talk about it. Can you witness me?
Yeah.
And my husband would go, yeah. And I'll say, don't fix it. I don't want your ideas. I don't want your comments. I just want you to witness. Great. He knows it's like, here's the instruction manual. Some people want hugs. I don't. I just want you to listen to me. What I need and what you need and every other person on the planet needs, we have to convey that to the person that's going to witness us. Anyway, then I go on and I'll go, blah, 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 this is what's going on. This made me mad. I may cry. I may not cry. If I do, I don't want anyone touching me. I just want to get it off my chest. It takes a few minutes, move it through, and then I'm done. I'm like, okay, thank you for listening. I'm done. That's all I need. I don't need him to say, you're right, you're wrong, this and that and the other. I don't need that. All I need to do is move that through. And then I can make a new choice for myself after that. So it's different for everyone.
That is just helpful, that it's different. Because what you just talked about, I don't have any desire to do at all. Now I will, however, go meet my guys on Fridays sometimes. Mm-hmm. And especially with a, conflict or relational thing and go, okay, this is what I perceived happened. And this is kind of what I'm feeling. Am I nuts? I mean, sometimes I need a check-in, because
totally,
especially if I hear something that's troubling me and going, am I missing it? What do I not see here? Can you help me see it? So that's my propensity to check in. But it's different. And you even saying the validation. I mean, I got so much as a kid, maybe too much, that it's not something that even there, I want to say it's not something that I need so much from everybody, but then, man, did I want it from my wife? I want?
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I was kind of like, I don't need it from anybody except that one. And I need it all from here. And that was not helpful.
Because you didn't get it when you were growing up. Is that interesting?
Mm-hmm. I want to walk. I do want to walk through. I mean, we haven't even. Well, folks, go buy the book. Go listen to the podcast. Go do this. You're to get the real training here. But
there's the book. Here it is.
We had the adult chair, or we have the child chair. We talked about that. We hit on that. That's 0 to 6. The adolescent chair, where we individuate. Love that word. 7 to 24, and then from on, then we're looking at the adult chair. But we're looking at this. I really put it under maturity, awareness, and consciousness and maturity. That's what you're bringing us to. And you said it adamantly, and I'm grateful that if we would embrace or accept, is that the word? If we would accept that we can be empowered, we can have a choice, or we are not victims of.
Totally.
Yeah.
And this is why the whole second half of the book, I have the 5 pillars. Because I sat back and said, okay, so this is how we understand our childhoods. That's the adult chair, the 3-chair model. What do you do about it? I realized over 20 years, what did I keep teaching people? That's what the 5 pillars are.
I want to walk through them real quick with you.
Yeah, for sure. I
want to. I don't know if we'll do full justice, but
yeah.
The fact that I appreciate that. The fact that this is your area of focus. Mm-hmm. And you came out with these 5 areas from the amount of clients you've had and patients you've worked with and whatnot is important to me. So you've got these 5 areas. Number 1, I own my own reality. Now, somebody can hear that and attach so many different meanings. And so here's what I came away after reading it. And it was ultimately just be honest with yourself, Kevin.
Yeah, but it sounds easy. People aren't honest with it. People don't want to talk about the pink elephant in the middle of their family room that they've been walking around for 10 years or for 5 years or 2 months. You've got to own your reality. People that feel stuck, you got to own your reality. The first thing that you have to do is get radically honest with yourself about what's going on in your reality and own it. You don't have to put it on Instagram or Facebook. You need to own it for yourself. I'm going to give you a couple of examples if that's okay, of what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Joyce, who was getting a divorce or carrying around the story that her ex-husband cheated on her and all this stuff. Her reality was, I'm carrying around a story that doesn't serve me anymore. Own it. Like, take responsibility for it. I don't mean blame yourself. I don't want you to judge yourself. Just own it. Like, oh my God. When people own their reality, a lot of times it feels like you're waking up out of a dream. Like, oh, I've been doing that for 3 years. I've been walking around with that story. I didn't even know. This is crazy. It wakes you up. Another thing people would come in and say to me, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud to you, Michelle. I want to leave my husband. Okay, tell me more. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud to you. I really think I just don't want to be married anymore. Okay, let's talk about it. What would happen is once they would own that, because I've been miserable for 5 years. Okay, talk to me about it. It starts to unravel this energy that's stuck. And when you start unraveling, it doesn't mean you're getting a divorce or you're separating. It means I'm not happy. Great. One client I remember, we worked with them. Oh, so let's have a conversation with your partner about it. Have you shared this with them? Oh, no, that would hurt them. Okay, but you want to get a divorce. That's going to hurt them too. So it would unravel this stuck feeling. And then we have ideas and inspirations and intuitions that start to fly in. And all of a sudden, life starts to change. People would come in and say, I don't want to admit this, but my kid's ADHD, I think, because I'm getting notes home for the last 5 years. I don't want to say that out loud to anybody. It's going to be a horrible life if they're ADHD. I don't want to. I'm like, okay, wait, pause. Let's get radically honest. There is a really good chance that they might be. The principal thinks so. The teachers think, okay, let's talk about it. And then the plan comes. And guess what? It's never as bad as the ego puts it, because the ego says this is going to be horrible if you say it out loud.
Yeah.
When you say it to yourself, things can move. People would come in and say things like, I'm drinking too much. I got to say it out loud. Okay, great. Now what are we going to do about it? I'm doing too many drugs. What are we going to do about it? So own it. It doesn't mean blame yourself. It just means own it. What's right in front of you that you don't want to look at?
Your energy, you talked about that. My story, it just became such a burden. I burnt out. Yeah. I could not, and I didn't even know. I had to burn out to then figure out what burned me out. And it was carrying the stuff. And for me, the energy, the denial that I was in, the things that weren't okay, that I was just thought I was valiant in enduring. And so when even hearing you talk now, it was like, can we just look in the mirror and I love the word sober. For some reason, I'm enamored with that from, there was a guy that I had on the show who came out of addiction. So literal, chemical sobriety was the thing. But as we talked together, it was Randy Blythe. It was, he's the lead singer of a heavy metal band. And I said, I experienced you as so intellectually sober. And it had never occurred to me. And of course, we talk about sometimes emotional sobriety. So getting sober with myself. And I like even the aspect of admitting, just come clean. So it's such a burden, like Frodo, it's such a burden to carry.
It's like, it's off your chest. It's like, I can breathe. I can't believe I said that out loud. And sometimes you have to say it to someone else, but start with yourself. Like really get radically honest. I'm just not happy. Okay, great. What now? So,
okay. Your next one, self-compassion. That's
really important because we're not great at that. We're really good at beating up on ourselves and controlling and judging, but we're not great with self-compassion. And self-compassion leads to building of self-worth, self-love, self-esteem, all of the things. It counteracts the inner critic. I mean, it balances that. And there's so many reasons. I remember when I was doing research on the book, I was like, what do I call this thing? Because I worked with a lot of people with self-worth, men and women. And I realized, how did I get them there? It was self-compassion. There's so much to self-compassion.
Okay. Well, again, the things that we don't know about ourselves, what hit me with this finally, and it's still working on me, is realizing that I had adopted a belief somewhere unconsciously that I was supposed to be my own critic, that I was supposed to beat the hell out of myself. Yep. Just like, I was a pro athlete. That's what you do. You have a coach and you just squeeze everything you can out of. You're not supposed to go easy on yourself. And so I didn't know that I had adopted that. And here I am, and that's chewing on me. And but what it came out is I want to be more compassionate with other people, like my kids. And I want to be more compassionate. Well, I didn't have any for myself. And then to realize, I realized that, but it still didn't help a whole lot until I realized I had really bought into thinking that was my job. And when I've talked with people about that, I find so many who go, oh my gosh, I do. I kind of think that that's my job. I'm supposed to. Mm-hmm. And yet yesterday in talking with a therapist, he cited some of my issues around that. And the arrogance with them, that I expect more from me than anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, damn. So self-compassion, I had to realize that belief and come off of it. Go, that's not work. I wouldn't act like that towards anyone else.
Mm-mm. And Kristen Neff, if you know her, Kristen Neff, she's done.
We had her on the show. It's been a while. Back when she had her book come out, it's probably been 4 or 5 years.
She has been on my show a couple of times too. And I remember I did some research around her work when I was writing the book around self-compassion. And her studies have shown too, and other studies, that when we have self-compassion with our children, it actually helps them to be healthier adults. And the inner critic is quieter as they're older. And there are some incredible studies around self-compassion versus what you're saying, like driving yourself so hard and being mean to yourself. Mm-mm.
I think I and a lot of people, we pride ourselves in that.
Totally. Like, yeah.
It was a badge of honor that I beat the hell out of myself.
No, that's where that inner cheerleader, we've got to be that inner cheerleader and not the inner critic for ourselves.
Well,
game changer.
We've talked about emotions a lot. I mean, number 3 here, you said, I feel my emotions. Just hit the high, kind of the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with the thought of feeling your emotions is just abandoned to them, and then you're controlled by them. And I knew people who were, and that didn't seem to be working out. And so Here I was in my stoicism, or however you want to label that, but I didn't feel my emotions. And I want to feel today. I want to feel them, and I'm having to learn more about them so I even can. But that's one of those terms. I mean, it doesn't sound like rocket science, but we're obviously missing it dramatically. Yeah.
We're not taught how to do it.
Yeah.
We're just not taught. And emotions can serve as our superpower. They guide us. The more we allow our emotion, again, remember them, they're just an energy. It's moving through. So when we're able to allow them to move through us, it keeps us in that flow state. I mean, it's just when we're not feeling our emotions, it puts us out of the flow state. When we feel our emotions, we're in the flow state and we're like surfing on a wave. It's beautiful. Again, we don't have to sit in them. If I had $1 for every client that said to me, if I start feeling that grief, it'll never stop. Or if I start feeling that fear, I'll never. Yes, it does. You can turn it off in 2 seconds. If the building's on fire, you're going to get up and run out of here with me. So it's okay. We'll start. Or I'm going to throw up if I feel that. Okay. I've got you. And no one ever threw up, but it feels like that. So just allowing, and then we don't have to label them. A lot of people go, I don't know what I'm feeling. Who cares? It's in your body. You're feeling tension. Yeah. Breathe. Let it be there. Let it come through. Sometimes for me, sometimes it does feel like we're going to throw up. I'm like, I liken it to throwing up because you know how when you feel like you're going to throw up and then you throw up and you feel better when you got that negative emotion in there and it's like, God, I don't want to feel this. When you feel it, you feel like a million times better on the other end of it. So just feel, just in the way that we do that. If you're not someone that feels your emotions, you start out by just getting curious. What is that in my chest right now? That's interesting. My stomach's really tight. I'm going to let it be there. I'm just going to do some breath work. I'm just going to breathe. I might put my hand on my belly and, oh, that's weird. It just moved. Okay, be with it. And that's what's so fun is to watch people when they start, oh, there's something here. And they're like, wait, it moved. I'm like, yes, it's an energy. It moves. It'll start at your shoulder or your neck and your throat and it moves down to your stomach or it gets bigger and then it gets smaller. Stay with it. I've done work on stages with people. I've done individual clients. I have a coaching program. I've worked with people around emotions for 25 years, probably. I've never worked with someone that didn't have an emotion move through and leave. You just have to stay with it. They move. It's an energy. It's like trying to put your finger on Mercury. You're like doing this. You try to touch it and then it moves over here and then it moves over here. They move through you. You just have to be with them. Shine the light on them and they will move. They move through every time.
Thanks. I'm a rookie still. Yesterday, sitting in my morning time, which is in the couch right behind me, and I was journaling and trying to be curious, as you said, and pulled down again Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, going, okay, nostalgia. That's it. Let me read about this because I don't know. I'm not fluent in this, in the language of emotions, even much less the feeling. So I come at them from that standpoint to help me understand the feeling and let it work through. Yeah. It's still new territory for me.
But even when you feel good things, like if you're sitting on your couch there and you're looking outside and it's like, oh, it's so pretty today. How's that feel? Just start getting curious. How's that feel? You're living in the mountains. Like, how's it feel? I live on a lake. I'm looking at the trees, the lake. It's kind of windy today. It's like, I love the trees. I love the squirrels. I love these birds. Like that feels so, you feel your heart start opening. Your body starts to expand. And then when you feel something that doesn't feel so good, it starts to contract. Okay. And then life goes on. Then you have a new thought. Then your body does something else. Just pay attention. That's it. That's how you do it.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. It's easier than we think.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm evolving, as we talked about.
I love it.
Number 4 here, again, this one feels like a volatile one again, I say controversial. It just feels like we're at this cultural standpoint where we are not in our adult chair. So number 4, you said, I own my triggers. So back to the thing we did with emotions. For me, the help that I help myself by realizing, well, I think you tell me that XYZ, whatever it was, person, whatever they said, it didn't trigger me. I triggered me. That fair?
They reflected something inside of me.
Okay.
That came up. It's as if that person or thing or event out there held up a mirror of something inside of me that then rose up inside of me and delivered to me on a silver platter right in front of my face, if I'm willing to look at it. I love triggers because it's a beautiful way to help us to discover and uncover our unknown unconscious beliefs that were deposited within us between the ages of 0 and 6. That's why I loved being triggered. I say that triggers are a gift. God bless. I love getting triggered. I was someone that was emotionally dysregulated in my 20s. Then I learned triggers. I learned how to work with triggers, and it changed my life. That one alone changed my life. But again, you pair it with emotions and like all these kind of plug in together like a little puzzle. But those triggers, that's powerful work right there.
Is it too minimizing to, I want to think that now again, feeling the emotions fully, but that as I grow in my own inner security, my own self-worth, I really like looking at just feeling safe. I feel safe in and of me. Nothing can make me feel safe. I make me feel safe. So in that I shouldn't really be able to be triggered. Doesn't mean that I don't care. Doesn't mean that I don't get a physiological feeling, but the trigger, as I grow in my own security, I shouldn't be triggered so much. Is that too minimizing?
The more you feel safe, I don't know if it has as much to do with safety as it does about how much have you actually cleaned out from your past.
Like unresolved, whether I've resolved.
Unresolved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like unresolved things. So it really depends on what has come up for you from your past. And again, we don't link it to the past. Like if you say something mean to me right now and you turn this podcast off, is it going to trigger me? I don't know. But out of left field, and I feel very safe right now. So I don't know that safety has as much to do with it. If that makes sense. I don't know. I think that's.
Yeah, no, I coming to the unresolved.
Yeah.
I like that.
There's a big difference between also people have asked me, can I be angry sometimes? I'm like, absolutely. But when you carry that anger with you over 30 minutes, over an hour, let's just say over an hour, that's a trigger. If I'm going to the grocery store and I'm waiting for a parking spot and you come ripping around the corner and you take that spot that I'm waiting on and I am pissed off and I walk in the store and I'm thinking about you and your car and that jerk he took my spot. I can't believe it, blah, 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 blah. If in an hour when I'm leaving Whole Foods and I'm going, I can't believe that guy took my spot, that's a trigger. If I can't let it go, it's a trigger and I got to look at it. Now, when we work through these triggers and we start to discover some of these unknown unconscious beliefs and we start to transform them, which I have a whole process in the book under triggers, we do get triggered less and less. I really do believe that. I was someone that got triggered all the time. Everything would piss me off. I was like, I don't do that anymore. I'm really pretty happy. I'm really balanced now. It's like mind blowing to me. So it works. There's no doubt about it.
Can I play with the taking ownership concept
please.
with here of going, okay, somebody, comes in and takes my spot like that. And I feel that physiological response, man, I'm pissed. Go right then and go take my own, I like the term personal agency, and or adult chair. Can I go, okay, adult chair time and look at my adult chair tattoo, which we probably all need one, get in the adult chair, Kevin, and go, okay, I'm feeling angry. Is that, is it not a big deal? And maybe it's not. Maybe I can go, you know what? They probably didn't know. They didn't mean anything by it. Or they go, or I was going to say judge. That's terrible. Or I look and go, no, I think the person's being a prick and they need somebody to deal with that. I think I'm going to, in my adult chair, decide to be angry and I'm going to go address the person or whatever.
Totally.
As opposed to it controlling me, I'm controlling it. And I still may decide, no, it's a good place for anger. Is that fair?
You could say that, but if you didn't have a trigger, you wouldn't be angry. If you didn't have a belief in there, you wouldn't be angry. You'd be like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? Okay. Have you ever been with a crowd of people? I'm sure you have at some point in your life where something happens outside of you. And a few of the people that you're with are pissed and you're not, or you're one of the pissed ones and the other people are not. And they're like,
totally.
Kevin, relax. What's your problem? Why are you so mad? Why are you getting so upset about that? Mm-hmm. And even two other people may be upset with you. You have a similar wound or belief that these other people have, but everybody else is not upset. They don't have that wound. There are many. I was having a conversation the other day with this woman and I said, if one more contractor comes in this house of mine and says, because we were going to add on to the back of the house and the contractors were coming in, these men were coming in and they would turn to me and go, so what'd your husband do?
Wow.
When I tell you I was pissed, I go, oh, I think we have a trigger here, Michelle. After the third one said that, I finally looked at these two guys and I said, what if he does nothing and I'm the one that brings in all the money in this house? And I realized I was triggered and they go, whoa. And I said, you better not ask a woman that ever again. And I was pissed. Fair. I was so pissed. I was like, whoa, hold on. And I was telling my friend the story and she goes, that's so funny. She goes, if someone said that to me, she goes, I could care less. She goes, and she's the primary breadwinner in her home as well. Her husband does not work. She works. And she goes, it wouldn't bother me at all. And I go, oh, that's a trigger. I'm going to have to sit with that one.
Yeah, fair.
You see what I'm saying? So it's I felt safe and I was in my home, but there was something that rubbed me the wrong way when they looked at me. And what it was that I felt invisible and I felt like it didn't matter. So I sat there and I said to myself, okay, this is showing up again. This is where you got to flip the words around. This is showing up for me to resolve this thing inside of me. Not that I'm bad. I didn't create it because I'm bad or wrong or my parents weren't wrong. It's just there for whatever reason. I don't need to know what the source is, but there's something in it for me. How did they make me feel when they said that to me? Not worthy. Underneath, not what's under that? I felt invisible. What's under that? I felt like I didn't matter. What's under that? Nothing. That's the root. When you hit bottom, I'm like, nothing. I felt like it didn't matter. Really. And how does that feel? Horrible. And I can feel it. It's like felt it in my stomach. Oh, it felt so bad. And then, so you go to the bottom of the well, you sit in it and feel it. That when you feel it, you pull the roots out and then you ask yourself, okay, when you feel like you felt it through, what's true now?
Yeah.
Instead, oh, well, I am pretty visible. I feel like I am worthy in that. And then you start building up new beliefs. What else is true? What else is true? What else is true today? And then you feel that top belief. And then all of those beliefs kind of come together and you feel inside the body. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't care if they say that anymore. It doesn't matter because I'm worthy. So it's not about the other person. They just showed me some of my beliefs. That's it.
Okay. Well, let's stick with that analogy. Let's say that you got to a place of saying, I'm going to make something up. I sense this patriarchal, junk from these guys. I don't think it's okay. And you're a therapist. I'm going to help them out here. So because number 5, I set healthy boundaries. If you decide that
Yeah.
I'm not going to have these guys come in anymore, I'm going to have them deal with my husband, or I'm going to wear a t-shirt that says I make more money than you do, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That setting because boundaries, I still feel like a rookie in, Michelle, for one.
Yeah.
And I also feel like in a lot of ways, we're still not getting it. We've read Henry Cloud's book. I've had Nedra,
Nedra
Tawwab on the show a couple times now. Oh, Terry Cole, Boundary Boss,
Yeah.
and yet I'm just now starting to resonate a bit with boundaries, realizing, okay, and you put this in there that I extrapolated out of your story on there that it's, I can set the boundary out of love for the other person. Mm-hmm. That I've never felt that. It's always felt bad. It's felt selfish. Mm-hmm. And now I'm realizing that I am helping the relation. Well, let me ask you though, I'm helping the relationship possibly, but the primary reason that I struggle with boundaries is because of my own fear of conflict and that somebody will think poorly of me, which then belied the question of why is it so hard for me to have somebody think poorly of me? That's been the hardest lesson for me to learn.
Here's the magic question.
What's that?
Here's the magic question.
Okay.
So you have to ask yourself this question when you're about to set a boundary. Who's setting the boundary? How old, again, so when you're setting your next boundary, ask yourself, who's setting the boundary? In other words, how old is the part of me that's speaking up to set the boundary right now? And I'm going to make a wild guess that it's not the man that's sitting with me today, the adult you. So a younger version of you is speaking up, and that's the part that's shaking in their boots. Number one. Number two, something I talk a lot about is that boundaries are energetic. Again, they're not words. I have a beautiful boundary course that's on my website right now that I taught, and I talk a lot about how to set boundaries. And boundaries, I could give people boundary scripts all day long. It does not help you set a boundary. I could say, Kevin, here's the script. This is what you need to say to your wife, your kids, your business partner, whomever. Doesn't matter. You've got to feel, here's what I love about boundaries. If you don't feel worthy or valuable on the inside, you ain't going to set a boundary. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. It's an internal job. It's not about who's outside of you. It's inside. And then you also, again, want to make sure I feel valuable enough, worthy enough to speak up for myself and get my needs met. And then we got to ask ourselves, wait, what part of me is trying to set this boundary anyway? Oh my God, it's my 3-year-old. It's a 5-year-old. It's a 16. It's a teenager, whatever. I need to pull the woman I am or the man I am today in the year 2025 in. That age person, my adult, is going to speak up and set this. And if it's my first time, I'm probably going to be clumsy. I'm not going to know what to say, like a toddler falling down when they're learning how to walk. It's okay, but I'm going to speak up. I'm going to figure out what my needs are first, what my truth is, and that's what I'm going to speak up about. But it's an energy, because I could even give you the words and say this to your wife. This is what you need to say.
Yeah.
And you'll say it and it won't stick. She'll push back, all those things. Your kids, because there's an energy to boundaries. And if you don't feel worthy or valuable enough to set them, people don't hear us. So that's the bigger work, which goes back to self-compassion.
Okay. Is this a relevant energy for me that I had set my image? I'm the hero. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest child. Mm-hmm. I'm the caretaker. I'm the pro athlete. Mm-hmm. I'm a man, I'm the hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have boundaries. There's no excuses. There's no limits. And it was the coming to the end of myself then, realizing that I'm actually mortal. Mm-hmm. I'm not Superman.
Yeah.
And that it's still there. It's still, your question is great for me to look at it and go, where is that? Because I think most of the time, the boundary, I'm in the child chair, the adolescent chair, probably.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they're shaking in their boots. They don't want to speak up. They don't want to disappoint people. They don't want to fill in the blank, whatever it is that they don't want. There's a million reasons why they don't want to say it, and they're uncomfortable. They should be setting the boundary. So you got to take a deep breath and say, I need Kevin, who's in his adult chair, or I need Kevin, my adult self, year 2025. Let me take a deep breath. What's true for me right now?
Yeah.
I need to speak up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Michelle, I think one of the most, you said it earlier, one of the most helpful things is I've got to slow down. For me to be in the adult chair,
yes,
for me, it's drastic. I'm 54 years old and I'm looking at drastic ways to slow. I have been captain doer and I'm so tired. I want to be captain B-er and I've got to slow down. And that's not sexy at face value for most.
It'll change your life though.
It is.
And I know the ego's like, I don't care. I'm validated for being the doer.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm workaholic, built a company. I can do it all. Coaching programs. I mean, I've got so much going on. People ask me all the time, how do you get it all done? The way that I used to work years ago and the way I work now are night and day, Kevin. I spend more time being throughout the day than I've ever done in my life. And my ego used to say, you have no time for that. You can't stop. You can't slow down. You got too much to do. You got too much to do. You got too much to do. There's an energy. Let's go back to energy again that starts to come in through you that gets stuff done. All of a sudden it's like, wait, I didn't have to, how did that all happen? It's all happening for me. It's through me. It's so weird. So I started incorporating something I called micro moments throughout the day of gratitude, of stillness. I'd go sit outside and just sit and be and I would have to literally set the timer on my phone because my ego would get so pissed off that I was stopping. But I could do 5 minutes here and there, 10 minutes here and there. And then everything started slowing down and life started to get easier, better, faster. And I was doing less. But the ego doesn't believe it. So you always have to start out by setting the timer on your phone. I tell everyone, set the 2-minute timer on your phone and go sit outside and look at the mountains. Like go sit outside and just look at the mountains. You don't have to look at your phone. Don't check Facebook or Instagram, or just look at the mountains for 2 minutes and breathe. And your nervous system will start to regulate in a new way. And then it becomes more comfortable to slow down than it is right now, because our nervous system regulates to what we're used to, how we live, right? So if you're going fast all the time, your nervous system doesn't know what to do when you're slowing down and it thinks there's an emergency. Yeah. You got to keep going. What's happening? So you have to retrain yourself, and it changes everything. I promise.
Well, here's to the adult chair and retraining. And I'll put this in the intro, as I say it now in the outro, that, again, I love the format of the book with the questions to help go through it, because to see the headline, I can give a head nod to it. But I think for life in general, if we're not asked the right questions, you're a therapist. We're not going to get there. We need them. So thank you for the questions. Thank you for doing this and for being here, and for the, I would say the free counsel. I actually get paid for this. It's unreal. It's the best job in the whole world. I'm the first person to get paid for your therapy. So thank you. Thanks for doing it. You've given me some great constructs to work with. That right there, boundaries. Where is it? What chair am I sitting in? Who's
speaking up when you're setting a boundary? Who's setting the boundary?
I'm going to email you next time that happens and tell
Please,
you.
I'd love to hear.
Okay.
I want to know. And just, if you quietly ask yourself the question and just drop your energy or your awareness below your chin, you're just going to go, 16? My 16-year-old's trying to set this boundary. My 2-year-old, it blows people's mind. Like, where did that kid come from that's trying to set this boundary? It's not even in your conscious awareness. It rises up through you, and you're going to be like, what the heck?
Hey, thanks.
Yeah,
I am a grateful recipient, and I'm honored to send this out to everyone I can. And I want my kids to understand this. So thanks for what you're doing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I want to get the adult chair in schools, because they all need it early on. So thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure being with you.
Well, thanks for joining us in this discussion. Again, that is Michelle Chalfant. That's a CH that starts with her new book again, The Adult Chair. If you get that, go to adultchair.com/book book, and you can get access to her master classes. And again, I really encourage you, wherever you're listening to this show, pull up the Michelle Chalfant Show, Life from the Adult Chair. Probably just put in adult chair and you'll find it. And if you want help getting personal invested guidance in your life to help get in your adult chair in many ways, connect with me. I'd be honored to help you find the right guide for you. Just email me at kmiller@kevinmiller.co. Here then is to the evolving you.
Yeah,